Welcome to Venator Chronicles Podcast.
I'm Dustin Jelly.
And I'm Ethan Taylor.
Join us on our journey of lessons learned through the world of hunting. Oh no. Oh no. And it's going.
No, I cut that. Don't worry.
Okay.
No one actually heard the intro. No one actually heard me say what I initially said, so we're good, dude. Do you notice how we immediately relax it going into this?
Yes. We switched
less
tones real quick.
intentionality. Yeah.
Hey guys.
Hey everyone.
Thanks for joining us. I know it's been a while because that's just how we roll. We are just so busy.
100%.
Like just flooded with just touring and speaking engagements all over
Dude,
the backyards.
I love it. I love it so much. Yeah, you've been touring at my house. I've been touring at your house.
Yep. It's just been bananas.
All right, let's get to the heart of this quickly, and then
why are we here?
We'll maybe
what
talk.
Are we doing,
dude? We are starting a new podcast because that's what two middle-aged white men do.
Yes, because we determined that it's cheaper than therapy,
and everyone needs it.
Yes.
On top of that, can I get a lighter, please?
Yes.
My cigar has gone out from talking about our last.
Jeez. You got to learn how to puff in between when I talk.
Yeah, I do.
Which apparently isn't enough.
Why don't you tell them why my cigar went out?
Because you like to talk, and
everyone knows that already.
Everybody does know that. So we just got done recording our first intro episode for the new podcast that we're going to be releasing, which
we have no idea when.
We have no idea when.
I'll probably coordinate dropping this episode with the other episode, so you guys won't have to worry about that end of it.
But we've just gotten to the point in life where, because of business, because of family, and everything else, that hunting, as much fun as it is, just is so low on the priority.
We love it. Don't get us wrong.
Yes.
We absolutely love it. We are in, May right now?
May. Turkey hunting season.
It is turkey hunting season.
I really wanted to get out, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
Exactly. Same. I know I'm not going to get out.
And, but we've also gotten to the point where we've just got a lot of other things kind of on our minds, on our hearts, that we've wanted to discuss that aren't hunting related. So it's a little weird to drop it in a hunting podcast.
100%.
So we decided to just start a new podcast.
Yeah.
And we're going to call it what?
Dude, I don't even know. Subsist?
Subsist.
Subsist.
Yeah. So it's just going to be a podcast where we get to have conversations and explore working through the hard things of life.
It's going to have a lot broader topics.
Yeah.
And I think for me, what's exciting about it is that we get to dive into a lot deeper topics about things that we're really passionate about.
Yeah.
Things we're really unsure about.
And things that are a little more in the forefront of our minds than turkey hunting or deer hunting.
Yeah, and I think, full transparency, it's tough, to keep a hobby as your number one priority year-round.
Yeah, which when we started VCP, we were definitely hunting a lot more. Mm-hmm. Spending a lot of our free time was revolving around that.
Yeah, 100%. And so, and I think after we get through this little introduction thing,
or long,
exactly.
Who knows?
Knowing
us,
us,
we'll take a 15-minute podcast into an hour 15 easily.
Exactly.
So buckle up, folks.
But we did want to let you guys know that the intent and the hope and the desire is essentially to share dive into broader topics and more of things that are really going on in our lives that are current, and things that, whether we're wrestling with it, whether we've learned some lessons from it, maybe a little bit of both, maybe something we figured out, whatever. We're gonna have a podcast that is really gonna just cover a wide range of topics and subjects that are things that we're really excited and passionate to share about. And that'll be year round. It's not going to ebb and flow with, hey, we're in season, we're out of season. It's right before the season. It's right after the season kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so wanted to give the opportunity for people who enjoy our banter. That will continue in other places as well. Not just here.
Yes. And we'll still continue to drop the occasional VCP podcast, probably more so during deer hunting because that's the
especially preseason when we get
in
into
season,
in season,
little bit of post.
Yeah,
you know, especially since we got some goals this year for the little bit we can get out,
dude.
You know, as they say,
some goals.
Shoot for the moon, settle in space,
and you'll land in the stars.
Shoot for the moon.
No, if you
land
aim
in
for
space.
the heavens, at least you'll land in the stars.
Nah, I'm shooting for the moon.
All right, well, I'm aiming for the heavens so I can land in the stars, dude, because the stars keep going.
Yes.
The moons, we know exactly where that's at.
It is,
I'm looking at it right now.
We've
Trust
been
me.
to, allegedly.
Allegedly is right, dude.
But yeah, so we'll still drop that occasionally. I mean, by this point, you guys have come to expect this. You know,
expect the unexpected.
We'll try to keep it from being, sooner than every 3 years. We can at least guarantee you that.
We should at least be doing each season.
Each
right?
season, yeah. So
that seems reasonable.
You got a few months between episodes, not a few years.
To be totally transparent, when I don't dive into hunting podcasts unless it's hunting season.
Yeah, that's where I've gotten to.
And so I don't know, obviously I know there are people who are like year-round diehard.
Yes.
And I'd be, at this point in life at least, with 5 kids, a business, and other hopes and dreams, I'd be lying if I was like making it like a year-round obsessive thing. Which it wouldn't be true to who I am right now. At least right now.
And this is one of the things I've come to kind of become okay with. I realized even let's take 50 as just a general age. That's by the time we're both 50-ish, all of our kids will be old enough to, whether or not they're moved out of our house, they can provide for themselves.
Yeah.
And where in theory, the free time should be. And we'll still be plenty young. I think that's the thing.
That is what's nice, dude.
I've come to realize.
How old were you when you got married?
I was 24.
I was 21.
Okay.
Yeah. And so our kids, and we started cranking them out.
Yeah,
dude.
we pumped them out early and fast.
Emphasis on pump. All right.
Anyhow, but so we'll have. I know I've come to be okay with I've got a lot of time. When I'm older, and by then my wife will probably be like, "Get out of the house, you bum."
Yeah, right. My wife loves hanging out with me, dude. So
she loves hanging out with, my wife loves hanging out with me.
But yes, okay, easy.
But so I've come to be okay with knowing that, hey, down the road I will have more time, and we'll do the little bit that we do get to enjoy, and we'll probably get a yearly trip together. Yeah.
Well, and you know what? Okay, so hopefully I'm not diving too deep into
the
what
whiskey.
Is it? Well, no,
Subsist.
I'm still learning it. Dusty has been on this for before
8
he
years.
knew me. Yeah, exactly. No, that was not before you knew me, but at least before we
became a podcast couple.
But I think one thing that maybe we are in the process of learning is the idea where I had been very all in, all out on things my entire life, where it's either I'm doing it and I'm going full bore, over the top obsessive about it, or I'm not doing it at all.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that I'm learning right now is just balance in general. And so it's cool. I like the idea. It takes the pressure off of hey, when it's top of mind, when it's something we're really driven and we're crushing it and going towards it. In that time, it makes sense to podcast. That's when we're going to be most excited about it. That's when people are going to be probably most engaged with it. And until that changes, I think we just do it how it's a part of our life.
Yeah.
And if it's not a part of our life in this season, that's okay too.
And hey, maybe someday when we're 55 and we have our own hunting channel and TV show and cabin and island.
And cabin where we just live.
Yes.
In our own cabin.
On private land.
I don't know if I don't know if I ever want to be a private land.
I know.
Private land hunter.
That's just.
There's not enough variables for me. I can't. I don't know if I can handle that consistency of knowing having turning all the knobs and getting everything dialed in. But also there's some constraint with that. Anyway, I digress. So anyway, we wanted to point real quick to the new podcast, and we'll have links and all that jazz released with this episode. So if you guys are interested, we'd love for you guys to check it out and just come hang out there and be the great community that you've already been.
Yeah, and hope with that one is just to explore a lot of, like you've said, a wide variety of topics. And share the same banter that we've been doing here.
100%.
Talk about difficult things with inappropriate humor.
There you go. Perfect.
Inappropriately timed humor.
Yeah.
Which I'm usually good for.
So that's our official plug.
There we go.
But we do have something to talk about.
We do.
Oh,
boy. Okay. This is news.
This isn't news. We haven't talked about this. We know that we have this to talk about. Okay. So Dusty and this year we have selected a very small parcel of public land, unnamed. And so it was late season when we set the cameras.
Yeah, like we're December.
We're literally talking early December.
We came together.
Yes.
We found a spot.
Well, Ethan found a spot. Dude, how dare you, dude? How dare you? I found a spot.
That narrows it down to what state we're in.
Yeah. We're in trouble now. Yeah, so we know we're in Wisconsin, and
don't lie, we're in Iowa. Come on.
Yeah, we're in Iowa. You guys, there's no way Ethan's killing bucks as big as he is outside Iowa. So Dusty and I had a camera set that had this fire is crackling.
It is.
This
is good.
And I'm good with
this
it,
is like
to be honest.
Representative of our life right now.
Listening might be super annoying, but I'm here for it.
It's good at ambiance.
You say ambiance? Okay.
From Minnesota. Eh?
Ambiance.
Eh?
Okay.
There.
So anyway, this last season I had a spot that I was hunting and I got some very nice bucks on it, right?
Yes. They had more than 3 pointing things off the top of their heads. I was amazed.
Okay.
I've never seen such a deer.
Okay, that's not the standard we're working off when we say nice bucks. We're working off of Ethan's standard.
Don't give away too much, man.
Which is, 8 to 10 plus, right? 8 to 10 pointer plus.
That high.
I know. So, but credit now to Dusty is like, dude, let's figure this area out. You got fired up when I sent you this picture of like, I don't want to you know what we can do? We can totally do the fishing story. I would say there's like a 20 to 22 inch spread on that thing. That you saw.
There was a big spread, and that was when you sent that to me. I don't know what it was. So, like historically, I've been at a place where it was like chasing after big deer for the purpose of like chasing after big deer is never really like my thing.
Especially if you haven't killed any, but yeah.
Yeah, that too. Maybe ignorance is bliss. But when you sent that, there was like, and I think it was just an overall shift this last year too of like realizing.
Dude, you were so fired up when I said that.
The challenge of chasing after big deer isn't necessarily primarily because it's a big deer, but he's big for a reason because he's tough to kill.
100%.
And whatever that thing, when you sent that to me, that hit home, and it was like, dude, let's chase after that. And it wasn't just like, ooh, I want to chase after that. It was, I want us to chase after that, like to have that, because that's what I love about hunting. Is that community.
Like any good hunting friend, he sees your monster buck, and he is like, we should chase after that. Okay, I'm kidding.
In the land where you can bait.
And we are true hunting pals, and I would be just as excited, if not more excited, for you to smoke a buck like that.
If I had something that big roaming around the areas I had cameras up, I would love for us to chase after the same thing.
Yeah.
Just so happens.
You know what we do right now? We take a shot at our buddy who totally ghosted us until he actually killed the buck. I'll say it. We're here. We got ghosted.
We won't say the name.
We won't say the name, but you know who
you are.
I was hurt.
Yeah, like that.
I was hurt. He said he was sworn to secrecy, and I thought we were pals.
I thought we were pals. I thought we were on a level where like you couldn't like we could share that information with one another, and there was
that
enough
a homie
respect.
was, and there was,
Like,
and there was
dude,
enough trust that a
you
homie would
are
chase it.
chasing after that. Like, we are all for that. We're not going to intrude.
Thankfully, this is just hunting we're talking about, but also I was a little butthurt.
I was too.
Because I was like, I thought it was totally random. And then he's like, by the way, I did actually know about this buck, and I was specifically chasing after it. And I was like, you dirty dog.
Yeah.
You dirty dog. How could you
Because that was part of like the whole, like that's the, I mean, it's just the ethos. Yeah, the whole point of the group text. The ethos was we are for one another, and we're not intruding on one another. Like, that's not who I am. That's not who you are. Like, and we even had conversations where there was times where you're like, dude, you should go hit this area. And I was literally like, I don't want to take away your opportunity. And you're like, no, go out if you can.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It was like, dude, I'm not kidding when I say I would be as excited, if not more excited, for you or people in our little group chat to get the buck that would be the quote unquote prize deer.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I've said my piece.
You got
now
that
I've
out?
said my piece. It's off my chest.
See, again, therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
This is way cheaper.
And you guys, there's going to be way more therapy on the other podcast.
Yes.
About a lot more topics.
Maybe we'll need therapy afterwards.
Yeah. More of it for me. Yeah. Okay. So anyways, I send you a video of a buck that has a insane spread, it looks like, right, from the video. And especially you become fired up.
That got
you
me
were
jazzed.
Fired up.
That got me jazzed.
Dude, you were jazzed. And so Dusty and I don't know how many acres. I would have to probably draw it out on X to see exactly.
Not much.
But essentially we have taken a real small sliver of this more like really big acreage. And I think our hope / thought is like overlooked.
Yeah.
As a general sense. Like,
which
this has to be, maybe this is overlooked.
Given our time walking through it.
Yep.
It does seem to be overlooked.
I mean, we're talking, there's a strip that's 100 yards wide, maybe.
Yep.
A strip of land that's 100 yards wide that we had scouted up and down real thoroughly. And then across from that, the initial strip probably at 200 yards wide, without getting into too much detail. But from that strip that's across from the real narrow strip, there's thousands of public land acres, right? And so we're like, let's take this smaller strip and essentially we're going to dissect this and digest this area and start to try to figure out first what's here, and then from there we're going to try to figure out direction of travel, how consistent, how we can hunt it, all that jazz, right? And so we had probably 4 or 5 cameras, probably closer than I've ever set cameras before.
Yep.
I think it's safe to say there's a road basically in between these two portions. Is that okay to say?
That's generic. At this point, do we have to bleep that out?
No, dude. It's generic enough, dude. It's generic.
If anybody really knows us,
and honestly, here's the thing. If anyone is listening that would even know, like, again,
good luck.
Like the hope. Yeah, exactly.
Good luck. Like if you get it, cool.
Like, I have like my second largest buck is it was the only reason I got it was because I moved because of somebody else hunting where I was currently at, and it's like, good luck to you. I'll move. Yep. I've got spots.
Yeah. It's, at the end of the day, it's just a deer. Mm-hmm. Like our lives are like, yeah, we got a lot more important things.
I'm not gonna stress
this
so
is
deeply
just
about that.
The thrill of the hunt.
Yeah, the thrill of the
challenge.
And the challenge and trying to really understand. So, exactly. And so probably 2 months ago now, we pulled those cameras, those 4 or 5 cameras.
Yeah, like a month.
Okay.
A month and a half.
Well, let's back up, actually. We set them in December. And Dusty came off of a podcast, listening to a podcast, where he's like, Ghost Buck. He's like, we are the Ghost Buck.
And you're like, what?
Still a little bit of the what, except for that one spot where we were like, okay.
We set up thanks to
You don't
God.
remember his name, do you?
Troy. I think it's Troy.
Troy Aikman, dude.
Yeah, Troy. I can't even remember the guy's name. Troy Pottinger. Or Pottinger.
Yeah, say that.
Something like that.
Yep.
Sorry if we're butchering your name.
He's not listening.
I devoured a bunch of podcasts he was on, and his big approach or idea to hunting is to, rather than hunt the bucks in a sense, it's to create this false sense of this ghost buck and get the big ones.
God, this sounds so far out, though.
Hunting or trying to figure out who this ghost buck is, and in doing so, what you do is you create mock scrapes and rubs and create community licking branches and use of scents and whatnot, where you are just creating.
Okay, I'm going to be straight with you.
Okay,
saying like ghost buck and like making the other bucks like.
It's good marketing.
It's so presumptuous.
It's
about
good
what
marketing.
A deer's thinking. I mean,
okay. So let's use the bar analogy.
I'm honest with you, bro.
Let's use the bar analogy.
Yeah. The what analogy?
The bar.
Okay, go on.
Not that you and I frequent bars.
Is that what you were talking about? Okay, yeah, I don't go to bars.
Yeah, neither do I. But I'm going to assume, based on what I've heard, it's if you're the dude that's trying to catch the hot chick at the bar, and she's talking about
catch creeper.
Okay,
continue.
Come on, you know what I mean.
This definitely
roll
can't.
With
you
this.
and analogies go horribly wrong, as everyone knows. So go ahead and continue.
I don't know what you're talking about. I think they're perfect analogies.
Yeah, I know you do.
Some people just have a hard time accepting the reality of them.
All right, go ahead.
Anyhow, so you're at a bar and you're trying to hook up with the hot chick, and but you overhear her talking about this other guy and just how wonderful he is. And like, would that not bug you?
Genuine,
you got to know who.
Worst analogy in the entire world. Let's just cut to the chase of what's actually happening.
The whiskey talking.
Okay, no, the actual thing that we did. Okay, so we walked up and down. It was probably a good mile, maybe longer.
What are you talking about? 10 miles. We put it 10 miles.
Oh, yeah, we're cool.
This is a 10-mile section.
Yeah, we Cam Haynes it, guys.
Yeah. One day.
Yep, and we were carrying 400 pounds on our back.
Yes. We grabbed the log and carried it the whole time, because who's going to carry the boats?
Okay, yeah, exactly. So I had my camera set where we had initially caught this really nice buck that fired Dusty up. And then we're like, okay, we're going to break down this super small strip up and down it. And then we'll come across, basically scout both sides of these roads and put cameras up where we feel appropriate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this strip that's 100 to 150, depending where you're at, 150 yards wide. And we found this particular opening that we were like, oh, we could at least actually hunt this. Otherwise, it was really thick.
Well, yeah, that was part of the thing, was trying to figure out, okay, where's an area where we could even set up to have an opportunity.
Yeah, and there's
not a lot in this area.
And let's just say, like, because we're hypothesizing where these bucks or this buck that's very mature would live, because it's very secure.
Yes.
And has all the resources it needs. And so we came across this opening. It also coincided with some cover that would have provided some crossing areas that would keep it out of other openings that it wouldn't want to be in, that you would presume. A lot of presumptions happening, right? That would be a safe way to put it?
Yes.
And so essentially what we did was...
we used those tactics of creating a ghost buck.
Yes. So Dusty, we worked on creating this massive scrape. We put up we essentially broke off our own licking branch.
Created a licking branch.
Yep. Dusty had a bunch of synthetics, right?
Yep.
Bunch of synthetic scents.
Different from doe estrus to bucks scents.
And then we absolutely destroyed a bunch of trees. Not destroyed. We absolutely scraped up a ton of trees around the area.
And like a few that would create, the idea was to create like kind of a 360 view to where you, if a buck was walking by, was like, whoa, what's that?
Yeah, so there was a bunch of rubs everywhere that we created. And then there was this massive, really worn-in scrape.
Yep.
With a very prominent licking branch right above it that we had essentially tied in with paracord. And then we did that. We didn't necessarily do the whole thing on all, the other 3 or 4 cameras. But we for sure freshened it up. We hit it with the synthetic. We did some rubs. And oh my gosh. So we went and last, it was probably a month ago, maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe longer?
Maybe a month and a half at most.
Yeah. We went and we pulled all those cameras, and most of the batteries have been dead for a little bit. We pulled all those cameras, and we started checking the cards together. And all the spots besides that main opening where we're like, we can hunt this, and really, it was the spot probably you're most excited about. Mm-hmm. All the other spots were actually previous scrapes that we freshened it up, essentially.
Yeah,
right?
They had been made by...
And this is in December, right? So we have no idea what to expect for activity. Okay. So we go through the camera with the most the one that we just described, where it's in this opening, and we're like, hey, we can hunt this, and there was no scrape there before, right?
Yeah, nothing.
It's like zero.
Yeah.
And holy crap, bro.
It got hit hard.
There were, I think, 3 to 4 bucks I would be happy to shoot this year, and they are going to next year.
Yep.
Right? Including the buck that we think we have on camera that I originally sent you.
Mm-hmm.
And dude.
It was exciting.
Okay, so the thing that was coolest, that I found the coolest, is that it essentially, to me, I think it's a bona fide community scrape.
Yeah, there was repeated. I
would say 3 out of 4 does
to immature and a bunch of does.
Yes,
constantly.
Yes,
on that
3
spot.
out of 4 does would hit the licking branch, and then almost, and I really do mean almost, a high percentage, 80 to 90% maybe, of the bucks would scrape and hit the licking branch.
Oh yeah,
and this is so late into the season.
Yeah.
We're talking
it was a sign that I'd never seen
December,
before
January, February.
Yeah.
Thought their horns should be dropping, and they're hitting it and scraping it and peeing on it.
Yeah.
And we did video instead of pictures and stuff. And so it was just so cool to see. And we were so excited about this particular area, right? And it was crazy activity, constant activity happening on that camera. And so we're so excited to check the other 3 to 4 cameras. And we checked the other 3 to 4 cameras, and maybe outside of one, it was
wasn't a whole lot.
It was just meh.
Yeah.
Right?
It was dead.
And so it was really, so anyway, the one we were probably most excited about, and the one that we put the most effort into, was the one that got absolutely blown up. Mm-hmm. And then the other ones that we were kind of setting up on previous scrapes and trying to freshen it up, hopefully getting some activity. And the idea with these being so close to each other is that we're hoping to catch direction of travel where they're on camera. Say we have camera A, B, C, D, E, F. Catch them on camera A and then on camera F, so we can start to understand what's happening when and where. And there wasn't a ton of that. I would say maybe the camera directly across.
There was no triangulation.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah.
But we pulled all the cameras because we got to replace the batteries, replace the cards, all that jazz. And then I think the other challenging part of it is that most of those things captured on camera were outside of hunting hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And we're not poachers, so that doesn't help. And so we have some new tactics that I'm really excited to explore this next season.
Creating a ghost.
And not just that, but also creating a preferable food source.
Yep.
But not hunting right on that food source.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, speaking of, I mean, what are we gonna be doing? We should probably get out there and do something here shortly.
Well, in the next
setting up
couple
preseason.
months, I think it'd be valuable to get the cameras out there and to see natural movement, and then I think it'd be valuable to figure out where we can hunt, because we are pretty limited on like actual areas we can hunt where you can see far enough, more than 20 yards, to actually hunt it in a viable spot.
Mm-hmm.
And so finding the spot maybe in between those, and also being able to set up on different winds, so that we aren't
and that's going to be the challenging part.
Yes.
Is come this fall of figuring out those perfect times based off the wind and the conditions of how to be able to get in and hunt this, because that's definitely the biggest challenge with going after something this mature. Is they're going to be smart. They're going to be
well, and like if right now, I mean, based on what we saw outside of rut, even though
we didn't even see what rut looked like.
Yeah, exactly, and like seeing,
which was the crazy part.
Yes, but seeing their natural movement outside of rut was moving at literally like midnight.
Yeah.
Midnight. I mean, anywhere from probably 10 to 2, with the occasional like 6 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Yeah.
Like occasionally.
Yep. Well, and that's one of the things that we talked about in the post discussion of all this, was kind of in a sense lamenting the fact that, like, I know for me a big shift this last season was realizing how I have kind of wasted the last 5 years, and not so much wasted.
Yeah,
I think
wasted
that's too
is a strong word.
I failed to capitalize on gathering repeated data over those 5 years in these areas, that, like, in my spots, to be able to better understand the seasons.
Yep.
Within the hunting season.
Within the season, yeah.
Of what and when and where, like, because there's like some, like, one of the things one spot I hit this last year was realizing, like, oh man, like, there's a week-long period in this one spot where, like, there was a lot of daylight movement and then nothing afterwards.
Yeah.
Man, had I had that data previously acquired for 2-3 years prior, I could plan around that a lot better. And that for us, kind of coupling with the idea that we don't have a ton of time.
Yeah.
That this kind of information is going to be so valuable for us, and that moving forward, that I'm looking at this as not just like, oh, what can I get this season, but okay, what data can we gather for this season, next season, 3 seasons? Maybe this whole effort, it might not even pay off for 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years.
Yep.
But what kind of data will we have to move forward, not just on a particular deer, but the deer overall, to where we can now better plan, and we can be more efficient in that time
that we do have.
Yeah. And that's where it came down to realizing last year, like, oh my gosh, so much of this comes down to 90% of the time is invested in scouting and data gathering.
Yeah. And dude, we
both approached it to what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And we were behind the eight ball.
We really were. And I think the part that's going to be really interesting and fun and challenging for us is, like, we have a hypothesis of where these deer live, where they're essentially untouchable, right?
Yup.
And how do we catch those deer in daylight? And obviously there's always the huge element of luck, but also there's an element of creating your own luck and creating circumstances that hopefully draw them to something, whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. And this year is probably the first year that you and I have looked at baiting a lot differently.
Yes.
And I mean, huge nod to Seth, my brother, who's the one who's kind of like been like, yo, baiting in the right context makes total sense.
Well, it was that mind shift of seeing as we're not trying to draw them to the bait pile to shoot them over it, but using bait piles as a means to draw in that data and then drop deer to that area, and not necessarily the deer that we're after, but the auxiliary deer, which then in turn brings in the deer we're after.
Well, and also, I think the thing for me that made it more appealing and like palatable, maybe, because I like the idea of like, oh, I figured it out without using bait piles, right?
Yeah.
I think the thing that made it more palatable for me was like, okay, it's a tool to help create, and so we hunt in the big woods, which like, so even my brother Ben, who he's primarily, not even primarily, he only is rifle season hunting, right?
Yeah.
And so he's like trying to figure out like deer movement, where they're gonna go. Like we primarily do deer pushes and stuff like that. But he's trying to figure out like how do we like hunt the big woods, and he's looking and scouring online for like how do you hunt the big woods, because we have water, we have food everywhere, we have cover everywhere, right? And so it's like all these things are just plentiful, and everything you watch online is like there's all these destinations that deer go to.
What if it all is a destination?
Right. And that's what it feels like, is like everything can be, like they can figure it out wherever they're at. And maybe we're oversimplifying with that. But like the idea of like a bait pile is like, okay, well, let's create a destination and then hunt off that destination, because we've all seen and heard all the stories. Yeah. Well, like I was with a friend recently, and we were walking his property, and we were talking about these. He's got private land, he's got food plots and stuff, and he was telling me the story about how this buck was essentially hung up in all this thick stuff and wouldn't come out because it was essentially daylight, and there's these hot does, presumably, on his plot, and he's like, well, "There's nothing I can do, and it's only 30 yards away from me." And so, like, how do we create a destination and then set up off of the destination to where they're vulnerable, essentially, right? And so that's where it became really enticing to me, is like, I'm not using... this is totally me, like, people are totally going to see this as, like, justification. Yeah. But in my mind, my justification is, like, I'm not using the bait as a crutch. I'm using it as a tool to be like... Okay, I'm trying to like...
you have to frame it, man.
Exactly, that's literally how it feels, and that's totally fine if that's what it is. But at least it made me feel better about like, oh, okay, so like I'm gonna actually use this as a tool. It's not like the thing in its entirety, because I'm trying to figure out the bigger picture. And I'm not just like showing up to my bait pile and like, well, hope it works out tonight type of thing.
Yeah, it's just shifting that from seeing it rather than as the main thing that's going to allow you to kill the deer to as a thing, a tool to
hopefully help set more odds in my favor, essentially, right?
Yeah.
And so, I'm really excited. We'll have to get those cameras out there before too long here, Dusty, and get some bait piles to kind of at least take stock of what's around and see how things are moving through daylight and evening and all that jazz.
And at the very least, it's going to be interesting seeing, like, now actually having, again, more data.
Yes.
Early fall, mid fall, late fall, back into what we already have data on.
And I think we've either had like areas that were too big to digest. I guess I'll speak for me. I've either had spots that are like way too big to digest and like only have like one camera, and these like little satellite spots that I hope deer come through, opposed to like having like an area I would say saturated in cameras.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'm likely going to catch them moving on this eventually. And so like, it'll be cool to hopefully try to put a little bit more of a puzzle together.
Yep.
And then try to get the odds in our favor through manipulation of that.
And it's also using the surrounding pressure.
Yes.
Because there is a lot of surrounding pressure.
I didn't tell you I went out. Well, I think I sent you a video of myself walking.
Oh, yeah, you
Remember
did.
when I sent you that? Yeah. That wasn't crazy far off of where we've set up, where we've had some cameras. So cool.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun.
It will be intermittent as far as the podcasting goes. But
Yep. Well,
when we do drop,
we're just gonna own it.
You're not gonna want to miss it.
You're not gonna want to miss it, and that's on this podcast or the other one. They're both. You're not gonna want to miss.
Ooh.
You're not gonna want to miss. They're both gonna be
One will
between the two. They should be year round.
Yeah.
And they might even overlap if you're lucky.
Oh man,
I can't
Good
see
stuff.
us. I can't see us in the fall together, not doing both podcasts.
Yes,
So cool.
that's
All right,
what
guys.
we've got going on, folks.
Yep, that's what we've got so far. We'll see you in another 6 months, at least on this podcast, and hopefully you guys follow the other one and hopefully grab some value outside of hunting and can glean from lessons we're either learning or we've learned from, or I have no idea yet. I don't know, man.
It's gonna be wild.
All right,
folks.
guys.
Peace out.